Well, we have new video of some storm damage in Rapides Parish. We were in the Deville area this morning. We saw CLECO crews cutting up downed trees and cleaning up debris. Rapides Parish Sheriff Mark Wood told us that Deville was one of the hardest hit areas in Rapides. At one point, 5,000 customers were without power. And we were out in the First Alert Storm Tracker to survey the damage from last night's severe weather and possible tornado in Cheneyville. As Rob LaPearl tells us, the cleanup is underway.
This was the scene for power line workers all throughout the night as locals begin to recover from the severe winds and weather. These roadside workers from Lafayette were cutting up a line of fallen trees that had taken down a power line and blocked the road with it.
Yeah, and this ain't even our area.
But this wasn't their first trip, telling us they had responded to 5 other incidents beforehand. Jump further south to Cheneyville, it was largely much of the same, downed trees and debris. But in the middle of town, we ran into the mayor, who was taking a more hands-on approach. So you got some tape in your hand. I've seen you've taped up this tree. What you doing out here right now?
Well, that's the thing. You guys were trying to get in touch with me earlier, and I wasn't able to get to my phone. That's because I was out here making sure, again, the roadway was safe, assessing the damage, talking to those persons who we had to talk to make sure everybody was on the same page, and make sure, again, the main thing was public safety here in town.
Mayor Ronnie Green tells us for his area, residents can largely expect leftover debris and blocked roads, but want people to stay patient as officials work on the road to recovery. Rob LaPearl, KALB.
And the storm last night swept over the whole state of Louisiana. A tornado watch in effect for much of the region expired, but not before storms causing significant damage. Across other parts of Acadiana, intense storms brought down trees. In St. Landry Parish, a large tree fell across a highway east of Morrow. Another tree was reported down in Lawtell, both due to high wind gusts. More than 90 million Americans from Louisiana's Gulf Coast to the Mid-Atlantic faced severe weather conditions.